You're welcome once again to Eretmis Cyber Chat. We do this every Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and we are always glad to have you here because on Friday nights you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here to join the Eretmis family, sharing the knowledge, and then also polish up your skills as a security professional and join in the discussion. So tonight we are looking at one of the very big frameworks in the cybersecurity space, and it's going to be a fun discussion. So hang on tight. And then also for cyber news, we're only going to look at one, but there is a very interesting cyber news. So I appreciate everybody's time. We are starting time now. I'm gonna go ahead and we are transmitting live on YouTube as well. So the live session of the recording is going to be on there, and then also as usual we are going to post the recording whenever it's ready. All right, you are welcome once again. We are starting and still allowing people in, so kindly bear with me. So, okay. All right, so tonight we are looking at the COBIT framework from ISACA. So that is what we are going to be breaking down and looking at the history and why it is important to security and all that. Right. So you are welcome to Eretmis Academy. Eretmis Academy is a cybersecurity school based out of New York. Eretmis Academy is the institution that brings you cyber chats every Friday night. And Dr. Emmanuel Edu, your instructor as usual, cybersecurity professional. I'm the CEO of Eretmis Inc., a PCI QSA company based out of New York, and then also the founder of Eretmis Academy. I used to be a captain in the United States Army, and I'm also a former professor at University of Maryland Global Campus and Central Texas College. And Eretmis Academy is a partner of CompTIA, right? They call it authorized partners. So for being authorized partners, what it means is that for everybody who joins CyberChat or anyone within the Eretmis family, if you want to sit for any of the CompTIA exams, we have a 20% discount that we afford to you, right? So just let us know, shoot us an email, and we are going to walk you through how you're going to get the 20% discount. And then also for everybody on here, if you have any certification, be it Security Plus, CISSP, and others, for these certifications, every 3 years you have to renew the certification, right? So there are two ways. You either sit for the exam again, or you are going to use what they call continuous education points to recertify, and you can get continuous education points for attending Eretmis Cyber Chat every Friday night, right? So you can go ahead and use that for your race certification. And for the Eretmis family and anyone who wants to join the Eretmis family, we have a very big WhatsApp group. You can join the WhatsApp group. The link to the WhatsApp group will be posted in the Google in the chat as we are moving on, and as we are going about the discussion. And then also WhatsApp has what they call the channel, right? The WhatsApp channel. Eretmis Cyber Chat is also on there. You can join the channel. So without necessarily joining a group, you can join the channel or kind of follow the channel, right? So everything that we do in terms of cyber chat and all other activities will be posted on there also as well. So you'll be able to follow. And for our YouTube, last week I think we were around 593. This week we are around 646. So it's growing really fast. And the agenda is Agenda 1 million subscribers by October 2024. And we are at a good pace. So we are eventually going to get there. We appreciate everybody's support. Keep sharing and spreading the word. Everything that we do for Cyber Chat, we post it on the YouTube channel as well. And we will jump into what we are going to be discussing tonight. So we'll first look at cyber news, and then we will look at the framework COBIT. So in the news this week, Roku, how many of us on here uses or has, or like how many have used Roku before, right? But you can show by your virtual hand. Yeah, Uche. Okay, anybody else? Okay, a couple. Kwame. All right. So the point that I'm trying to make here is anybody familiar with this app, right? Jeff. Okay. All right. So what happened was there is kind of a breach, but then Roku is asserting that it's not their fault, and we are going to look at the technique that these attackers are using for this breach. So they were in the news because they experienced a cyber breach and they said about 100 and 500 and is it 500 about 576,000 of their accounts were compromised in this attack, and we are going to look at some of the ways that or the techniques that these attackers are using this time around, right? So the streaming is okay. So anybody who is not familiar with Roku, they are a streaming platform, right? You can stream movies and shows and stuff, I think, for free, or sometimes they have paid versions also as well. And similar to what Netflix is doing, but I don't think they have the capabilities of Netflix, and they don't. I'm not sure if they do their own movies, like their own movies and series and stuff, right? But they've been around for a while, and they also provide good service. They have almost like 80,000 subscribers, 80 million subscribers. So that goes to show you that how big the platform is, right? So they experienced a data breach early this year, and whilst they were investigating that data breach, they discovered there was another breach. Right? So the first breach, it was almost 15,000 users whose accounts were compromised. And then the second breach that they discovered while they were investigating the first breach, they discovered that almost 576,000 users' accounts were compromised, right? And the attackers or the threat actors, the technique that they use or the method that they use to really pull this off is what we call credential stuffing. Right. So credential stuffing. Who knows what credential stuffing is? Any wild guesses, or if you know for sure, you can let us know. And whilst we are going on, kindly put your location where you're joining us from in the chat. That way we give you some shout out when we are almost about to wrap up. Right. Sandra, please go ahead. Anybody aware of what credential stuffing is?
This is Ileko. I think it's when people like bad actors purchase or have access to stolen username and password, and they just use them randomly to see if they can access a given accounts.
Okay, close. Uche, please go ahead.
Yes, it's when a previous breach has occurred, and those same bad actors now say, well, let's use these credentials in an attempt to make another breach. So what was it? Ashley Madison attack, they now use those credentials on like maybe Capital One and then cause another breach.
Pretty close. So in this type of attack, credential stuffing, we as users, we help the attackers. And how do we do that? I am pretty sure almost everybody here, you are using the same username and password for more than one platform. If you are guilty, you can raise your virtual hand. That should be everybody, right? There is nobody who is using different passwords for all platforms that you're using. And what attackers do is that if they are able to compromise one platform and they're able to discover or they're able to steal your username and password, they will try it on other platforms to see if it works. If it works, then double win for them. So we as users, we are the ones who are helping attackers pull this off. Right? So for what Uche and Elico we're talking about were, almost on the same lines. But the only difference is they steal it from other platforms, or they get that information from other platforms without necessarily even, so they can breach those platforms, or they can just do credential harvesting. Once they get it, they try it on all other platforms. Okay. So, and in today's day and age, is like chances of you being able to use that to log into other platforms is pretty, like you have higher chances, because there are too many platforms that we are all using. Even when we just take social media, everybody on here has Facebook, you have TikTok, name it, X, and the rest, right? And mostly we use pretty much almost the same username and password, which is pretty bad. But what can make it better? If we are still using the same username and password for all platforms, what can we do as another layer of defense that can prevent attackers from being able to pull this off?
Multi-factor.
Of course, right? So I can use the same username and password for all my social media platforms, but then I have to make sure I go in there and I enable multi-factor authentication, or dual-factor authentication, or two-factor authentication. So if somebody is able to get my username and password and they are trying to log in, so let's say they got it from X, right, or Twitter, and they are using it to log into my Instagram. Now they are going to put it in, all right, but then the next step will be for Instagram to send me a PIN or a code for me to input into the application, but then they don't have my phone, so they wouldn't be able to pull it off. So hopefully that, or if you are using our biometrics, then they wouldn't be able to also pull it. Right. Simon, please go ahead. Oh, you are muted if you are trying to speak. And Uche, I'm not sure if your hand was from previously.
Oh, this one. Yes, Dr.
Okay.
Adu. I mean, at this point, I don't even know if 2FA is good enough, because didn't they just hack Google accounts? The actors, they just sideswipe 2FA, MFA. At this point, it's probably just better to change your password every week. I mean, it's getting to that point.
Yeah, I think so. For everybody on here who is more conscious and more security conscious, yes, we can maybe probably a week is too much of a hassle for everybody. But I think maybe multi-factor will help us now for a while. And then what you can also do is, instead of a password, use a passphrase, right? So instead of using Uche1234 or Uche2024, you can put something like, I love eating pineapples, right? And then change some of the words with characters and special characters and letters and numbers, right? Those are a bit, so even like those, using passphrase will help with brute force attack. Attackers wouldn't be able to easily guess your password, but if they're able to discover your password through credential harvesting, or you left it somewhere and they found it, then obviously that is still not going to help. What is going to help will be multi-factor authentication. So I think dual factor or two-factor, not so much, but multi-factor will do the trick. At least they have 3 factors of authentication that they have to go through. So in the light of this breach, Roku says their platform has not been compromised, and that the attackers were able to pull this off because they got the login information of their users from other platforms, right? So that is why they suspect it was credential stuffing attack. So Roku is still good for you to use, but you just have to make sure you are spicing up your username and password for different platforms. You can use the same one, probably just add some letters or numbers to it. So maybe the password for this one is going to be maybe Dr. Edu 2021, for the other platform 2023, do something like that. So this is just an advice for all of us. Now we are going to jump into COBIT. So for the COBIT framework, why do we have all these pictures and why do we have governance here? So when we talk about governance, for the English people on here, what is the meaning of governance? Right, you can raise your virtual hand. Governance in general sense, not even as it pertains to security. The pictures on here, when we say governance, what coming to mind is what we have. That is what we put on here, right? So what is governance? Any English major or anybody with business? I think this is more of government. Yeah. Please go ahead, Arini.
Yeah, it is a way an institution or an organization is managed and directed and controlled. Managed, directed, and controlled in order to ensure that it meets the intended objective for which the institution is established.
Okay, great. Thank you. Said, please go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, governance to me is just a method of operation that the company uses, like a governing strategy or method of running a system.
Okay, thank you. So, governance and government, the word governance is what we've added stuff to make government, right? Every company has a government. Every country has a government. Even in your home, you are running or managing a type of government. And with government comes governance. So how you are governing your home, how you are governing your organization, how you are governing your church, how you are governing your country is where we get the act of governing is governance, right? So when we think about governments, how they run, the structures they have in place, the rules and regulations and laws for the country, same thing is what we mimic for companies, is what we mimic for our homes, right? You're not just going to allow your kids to do anything they want, right? There are rules and regulations in your home. They know they cannot do this, they can do this, but cannot do this, right? And as they are babies and they are growing, you kind of instill those in them, right? And you let them know, hey, we can't put this here, you can only put it on this side. We don't do this, we do this. In our home, this is how we function. Same thing with how we run countries, how we run businesses, right? But for us tonight, our focus is going to be on how we run businesses. Right? So what is corporate governance? Now, corporate governance, also picking its meaning from the general meaning of governance, is how we govern our organization, right? Now, every company, whether it is for profit or non-profit, they are in business to survive. No company wants to be set, like you don't want to set up your company and the next day it is going to run out of business or your company is going to die prematurely. So if you don't govern it well, you are going to run it into the ground. That is why some countries, if the government or whoever is in charge, or whichever group of people are in charge, if they don't run the country well, they will run it to the ground. Same thing with companies, right? So for corporate governance, is a toolkit. So this is a definition from the Governance Institute, right? It's a toolkit that enables management and the board, so board of directors and the board for companies, to deal more effectively with the challenges of running a company. Keyword: challenges of running a company. So challenges, there are a lot of challenges that you will encounter as a board or as a governing body for a company, right? Now for corporate governance, so corporate governance ensures that businesses have the appropriate decision-making processes and controls in place so that the interests of stakeholders are balanced. So who are stakeholders? Investors, your customers, anybody who has some key interest or who has some skin in the game in the company, right? So the goal of corporate governance is to ensure that we don't run the company to the ground, right? With poor management and poor decision making and not taking action when we are supposed to and the rest. Now, what has this got to do with the framework that we are going to look at tonight? COBIT. I mean, this is purely business. What has it got to do with cybersecurity or information security? It has a lot to do with cybersecurity or information security. We are going to learn how and why. So we are going to move now into IT governance. Kind of similar approach from our corporate governance. But, you know, in today's day and age, even way back in the past, you can't run your company without IT. No company can run today without IT. So that is why we started this whole today's session by looking at business, you know, governance, corporate governance, and breaking it all the way down. That way, the framework is going to make sense, right? So, IT governance, what is it? So, IT governance, still borrowing the general definition of governance, and now adding IT to it. IT governance is a subset of corporate governance, right? So, corporate governance covers IT governance as well, because corporate governance covers everything within the organization. So it's an element, IT governance is an element of corporate governance. And the aim of IT governance is improving the overall management of IT within the company and delivering value from investments in IT within the organization, right? So IT governance helps the organization to manage its investment in the IT space within the organization. Now, everything that we do within our organizations today, everything, you know, hinges on IT. So from our computers we are using, from our printers, from our scanners, even now for our doors, we are using smart doors, ID cards that we are using, everything hinges on IT. So if we don't manage IT well, we can still run the company to the ground, right? So what do we mean by managing IT? We have to make sure we are getting a return on our investment, and how much money we put into IT is not too much and is not too small, right? So it's at that good point where we are getting a lot of return, but then we are also not investing all the company's money into IT. So we have frameworks, right, or standards that we use in IT governance to help manage the IT of organizations, the IT governance of organizations, right? And that forms a very critical part of the corporate governance of the organization. We are going to look at some of it here. So why is IT governance important to our organization? We are going to look at just 5 of the reasons why IT governance is important that we have to pay more attention to, right? So one, we are able to demonstrate measurability. So measurable results, we are able to really see return on investment and gauge whether what we are investing in is working or not, right? IT governance helps us to manage our relevant legal and regulatory obligations well. So there are some obligations that your company, legal or regulatory, that your company has to stay in compliance with. If you don't manage your IT governance well, you are going to miss these obligations, and they can result in hefty fines. And even sometimes owners of the company and the board, some of them can go to jail, right? We saw that last week with HIPAA. Some of the penalties for not staying in compliance with HIPAA, you can get a 10-year sentence or 2 years, depending on whatever the magnitude of your defect, or like the magnitude of your non-compliance is, right? If you want to put it that way. Now for PCI DSS, you are not going to go to jail if you don't stay in compliance, but then the card brands can prevent you from accepting their cards. So if you're a company and you are unable to accept payments with payment cards, then you are going to go out of business. So staying in compliance with these regulatory or legal obligations is also a key aspect of what we do in IT governance, right? And then we are able to assure stakeholders as a company, we're able to assure stakeholders that they can have confidence in our IT services and our IT setup as a whole. Two, and the next one is it facilitates an increase in the return on IT investments, right? So we are able to really gauge in real time, are we really getting a return on our investment or not, right? And then also to comply with certain corporate governance and public listing rules and requirements, right? So still looking at some of the legal and regulatory obligations. Now, there are some that are also mandated aside just the regulations that we have to stay in compliance with, right? There are some other ones that we also have to stay in compliance with, and IT governance helps us to do that. So with that, we are going to move into the 5 domains of IT governance. Now, we are not going to go too deep into IT governance. This will be the last of IT governance that we are going to look at, right? So there are 5 main domains when it comes to IT governance, and this is directly from ISACA, right? They have the IT Governance Institute, a subset or a division of ISACA, and they proposed that there are 5 domains when it comes to IT governance. We have value delivery, strategic alignment, performance management, resource management, and risk management. So we are not going to, go too deep into all these 5. Maybe that will be another topic for a different cyber chat discussion. But we are going to move into some of the models, frameworks, or standards that we can use, or that will help us to really manage our IT governance, right? So the corporate governance that we looked at as a whole, when we are implementing or really, laying it out, there are frameworks and standards that we use, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel or guess or, assume anything. There have been studies, there has been research, and they've laid out some steps and some principles that we can follow to achieve good corporate governance. Same with IT governance. We have a whole list of frameworks, as we call it in the security space, that we can follow, right? And these frameworks, they are best practices showing us exactly what to do to be able to meet or come up with a good IT governance program for a company, right? So these are some of the frameworks that we are going to be looking at, but the main one we are looking at tonight is COBIT. So we have ISO 38500, we have ITEL, we have COBIT, and we have CalDAS IT governance framework, and we have the Open Group Architect framework, TOGAF, as well. So maybe for our next cyber chat, we might look at some of these other frameworks that we have not looked at previously, right? So, but for tonight, we are looking at the one in the middle, that is COBIT, right? So this is kind of an overview of corporate governance within the organization. It has 2 main arms. That is your IT governance and your information security governance. Now, we can also argue that your information security governance falls under IT governance, right? So everything that we are going to look at tonight, the framework we are looking at falls under IT governance, which also information security governance is part of, or cybersecurity governance is part of. So hopefully we are building a case to this point, and when we jump into COBIT, it is going to make sense, right? Now, for everybody on here, and if you are new to the Eretmis family, you are looking to get into the cybersecurity space, start a cybersecurity career, do a career switch, our cybersecurity entry-level course is the way to go, right? It helps you from taking you from scratch, building your knowledge base, your skills base, and then, jumping into 2 months of internship, and then job placement assistance, where we help you land a cybersecurity job. So you can look into this on our website, Eretmis Academy, our cybersecurity entry-level course. But before you even jump into that, we have a free course, our cybersecurity for beginners, that we encourage you to take first. And then, you'll be able, you can, look into jumping into our cybersecurity entry-level course, right? And then also for folks already in the IT space, and either in cybersecurity or in IT, you can also specialize in PCI DSS as a niche within cybersecurity. one of the most lucrative niches within the cybersecurity space. Our PCI DSS class, top-notch, beats any PCI DSS program out there. You can also look into joining this. We have a PCI DSS for beginners free course that you can also look into. And for our PCI DSS training, you can look over that on our website also as well. And for anyone who has some cybersecurity training, or you've done some certifications, you are looking to get some real-world hands-on training, your cybersecurity experience starts with our cybersecurity internship and workshop program, right? Where we pair you with two of our sister companies. You are going to go through working on real-world cybersecurity projects, and the projects GRC heavy, right? But we go beyond GRC as well. So you go from doing audits, doing gap analysis, incident response, third-party risk management, and the list goes on, right? So you go all the way, even coming up with security awareness training for your company and all that. So it's very, very robust, very intensive, and it gives you the hands-on experience that you need, that you can, talk about during interviews as well. During interviews, you are speaking to things that you've done, not just some, things that you studied, right? So look into our cybersecurity entry level, our cybersecurity GRC internship also as well. The next cohort is starting on the 18th of next month. So get on board, and we are going to help you polish up your skills as a cybersecurity professional. Now let's get back into our framework for tonight. That is the control objectives for information and related technology, COBIT, right? So COBIT, now we've laid the foundation for, for you to understand where COBIT really fits in cybersecurity, right? We know it fits in the IT governance space, and thereby fits in the information security or cybersecurity governance part of the company. Right? So the whole entire structure, we know where COBIT will fit. Right? Now, COBIT as a framework, the main focus is governance. The main focus of COBIT is governance. Now, when we looked at some of the frameworks that are used for governance or within the governance space, we didn't see most of the common ones like HIPAA, PCI, and the rest, because although there are some governance aspects to those frameworks, they are not predominantly just focusing on governance, right? Their main goal, they have their own, goals as well. HIPAA focuses on health, on the health industry, everything health data, PCI on credit card, debit card data. COBIT focuses strictly on governance, right? Governance, IT governance. So what is COBIT? We are going to look at exactly what it is as a framework, and then the history of it and the rest, right? So COBIT, the full name is Control Objectives for Information and Related Technologies. It's a framework like we saw earlier. It is used for managing and governing enterprise information technology, right? So now the next question is, what is enterprise information technology? Sometimes, in the IT space, people will just assume people know stuff, so they just keep pushing on and jumping on. Now, if we were not breaking this down when we kept moving on, enterprise information technology, you might just take it as it is, right? I remember a while ago, I asked somebody what enterprise, if we say, how to manage your enterprise, I asked somebody and they thought enterprise was a company. Right? So I don't really take some of these things for granted. We have to break it down to make sure everybody really gets it. So when we talk about enterprise information technology, we are referring to set of almost everything that you use within your organization in terms of IT, right? So it covers hardware, software, data management, risk management, everything, right? So by definition, it's a set of digital technologies and systems that are used to manage and facilitate the operations and objectives of a large organization or even a medium-sized organization, right? It covers a range of tools and processes that we use to store, retrieve, transmit, and manipulate data on a large scale or even on a smaller scale, right? So these are some of the aspects of your enterprise IT. That is hardware, and hardware will cover everything: server, computers, data center, network device, physical devices that you are using within your outfit. And then also for software, all sort of softwares, your CRMs, your ERPs, name it, all softwares will also, fall under here. Your network is also part of this. And then we are going to look at your data management as well, and then your security in general, right? Protocols that you are using, ports that you are using, all these, they all come together to form your enterprise IT. So with that with that put aside, and everybody on the same page, we are going to move into the history of COBIT. So why COBIT? Who created it? And what are the main parts of it? So COBIT was created by ISACA. And if you don't know ISACA, ISACA is one of the big organizations within the cybersecurity space or information security space. And their stronghold really within the industry is auditing and governance and risk management. Right. So for their certifications, they are focused on audits, risks, and governance. So ISACA, they also, aside the standard or aside the framework that they have as COBIT, they also offer certifications for industry professionals. So some of their certifications include CISA, SIM, and the rest, the risk management one, and they have, but CISA and SIM are one of the biggest ones that they run, right? And they also have this framework that they've had for a while that they've been pushing the whole time. And it's one of also one of the good frameworks if you want to do anything governance, right? So ISACA is an international body. They've been around for a while. Their main focus is IT governance and audit and everything that comes with IT governance. They help organizations, or they help the whole entire industry in terms of managing their IT, making sure it is aligned with business goals. Now, COBIT helps us. The main goal of COBIT is to make sure we are aligning our IT, everything that we are doing with IT, with our business goals. So in simple terms, we are aligning our information security governance with our corporate governance, right? So like we saw in that diagram, our IT governance, we draw everything from our corporate governance. So our guidance, everything that we are going to do in IT governance, we get our direction from corporate governance, right? And then corporate governance, so we get everything from corporate governance. And then for our cybersecurity governance, we also draw everything from our IT governance. So, if you do that association, then it means we are drawing still from corporate governance, even for our cybersecurity or our information security governance. So COBIT has a framework. The goal is to help us align our IT goals with the business goals of the organization, right? Business goals and objectives of the organization, right? So how did ISACA come about with COBIT, right? It wasn't just ISACA as a body that, came up with this. They did some industry solicitation as well. So an extensive research with the input from consultants within the industry, educators, IT professionals within the industry, IT auditors. And that is how they were able to come up with the first framework, COBIT 1.0. Right? So we are going to look at the timeline for this framework up to date. So they started with 1.0, COBIT 1.0 in 1996, right? And initially it was for financial auditors to better navigate the growth of the IT environment, right? But then later, it gradually moved more into the information security side of the house, right? So in 98 is when they came up with version 2. That was 2.0, and it was more comprehensive. Obviously, a better version of the first 1.0 that they came up with. Now in the 2000s, I think 2002 and 2007 and 6, so 2006 and 7 or 8, they came up with version 3 and 4. within the 2000s, they came up with version 3 and 4. And that was even a better improvement. And the focus now, they really pushed it more into the cybersecurity space. Right? So then in 2013 is when they released COBIT 5. That was also a better improvement than the previous versions, obviously, right? So version 5 has been around for a while until 2019, when they came up with a new version, but still version 5 kind of is being used hand in hand. So version 5 obviously was an improvement from version 4. And for version 5 also, they drew from other frameworks like ITIL and ISO, right? So they started integrating the COBIT framework with ISO and ITIL. But in 2019, they came up with their current version that we have now. The current version of COBIT now is COBIT 2019, right? They moved from the version, instead of moving to version 6, they made it 2019. I don't know if the next version is going to be the year that they came up with, but now the latest version is 2019. So this is the current version. And the current version is now, it is more generic, right? And more comprehensive. And it serves as a tool for all industries, for all companies within, regardless of your industry, regardless of your size, regardless of the goals that you are trying to achieve. This current framework will help you to achieve whatever goal that you are trying to achieve in the governance space. So why is COBIT, the framework, important? Or why is it really critical in the cybersecurity space, right? The key word here is common language. So it helps, or the goal is to provide a common language for IT professionals, business executives, and compliance auditors to communicate with each other without issues, or without, looking at each other's face like, what is he talking about? Or what is she talking about, right? So it helps us to be on the same page, both business executives, and we know business executives are not IT executives, right? They are business executives. Their focus is on business. They might not really be IT savvy. I mean, they are IT or computer literate. They can do everything that they have to do. But when it really comes to breaking down maybe security stuff, and for them to understand and all that, they are not really savvy when it comes to IT. So if we have a framework that is going to help us bridge that gap between your IT professionals, your business executives, and your compliance auditors, then it's a step in the right direction. So it will help us to achieve our IT objectives and goals. And then also, without this common language that is COBIT, our enterprise, any enterprise that will be under audit, or any company that will be under audit, will run into the issue of now having to educate your auditors about how your company operates, and when, how, and why specific IT controls were created, and why, and all that, right? But this framework, how it has been structured, it helps us. It brings everybody on board. So the reason why it's a common language is everybody has a part to play in this, right? So your business executives, they have their part to play. So when you have to talk to them as an auditor, they know exactly what they did and what, like the part that they are playing. Your IT professionals also know their part of this. So it makes it super easy, and everybody understands the bigger picture of why we are doing this in the first place, right? Unlike some other frameworks where you talk to some folks within the company and, it becomes an interesting conversation. So let's look at some of the basics when it comes to the COBIT framework, right? So we are looking at two main parameters that we use in the COBIT space. We have the controls and the IT controls objectives, right? So controls, it includes, what we mean by controls, the IT management processes, procedures, policies that we use, and structures that we have put in place to provide an acceptable level of assurance that business goals will be met, right? So these managerial practices and policies and structures that we put in place, that assures our business owners and our stakeholders that our overall business governance will be achieved. That is what control focuses on. And then IT control objective is, we are looking at an acceptable level of assurance. Now, the IT control objective defines the level of acceptance and results to be attained, right, by implementing these control procedures, policies, and structures that we have in place concerning particular IT operations. So aside these two parameters that we are looking at, COBIT 5, we'll be looking at just principles of COBIT 5, right? So for COBIT 5, we have 5 main principles that we use for assessments and for everything. Principle 1 is meeting stakeholder needs. Principle 2, covering the enterprise end-to-end. Principle 3, applying a single integrated framework. And the 4th principle is enabling holistic approach. The 5th is separating governance from management, right? So although under governance, we are going to have management, but management on its own can be, like I said, aside, right? So we are not going to go too much into details when it comes to these principles. That will be a subject for a different cyber chat, right? Now, in terms of governance, how do we, or what we have in governance that helps us to really execute these principles or achieve these principles? We have what we call enablers, right? Enablers, there are 7 enablers of governance that helps us to really pull off the 5 COBIT principles. And these enablers in governance, they are principles, policies, frameworks, processes, organizational structure, ethics, behavior, culture within the organization, information, services, infrastructure application, and we have people, skills, and competencies. Right? These are some of the enablers that helps us to achieve these 5 principles that have been set forth by COBIT. So before you start using COBIT 2019, you have to know the following, or you have to be aware of what we are going to discuss. These are some of the things that you have to know or be aware of before you jump into it. Now, COBIT 2019, unlike other frameworks, not necessarily a cheat sheet, right? But it's more of a generic tool to support the business decisions, right? So let's give maybe an example. So, for a framework like PCI or HIPAA, we can say it's a cheat sheet. You are going down the list. Okay, this has to be there. Okay, do you have it or you don't have it? Now for COBIT, the 2019 is more general, right? Kind of on the lines of ISO 27701. It tells you what to do, but not really. So, okay, you are supposed to have a good risk management program. That's it. How do you really pull that off? It's up to you as a company to figure out based on your needs and your business objective. Right? So it is not a cheat sheet that you can just go down the list and check stuff on. It's more of a generic tool that you are going to be using. And now for objectives, it contains 40 business management and governance objectives that you have to follow. Now, caveat to that is you can choose to ignore some of these business and management objectives, or you can choose to prioritize, some of it. So whichever one is going to apply based on the needs of the organization is what you're going to use. Kind of also in the lines of SOC, SOC 2 audits, right? It's not everything that is going to apply. Some will apply, some will not apply. Now, when it comes to domains, COBIT objectives are grouped into specific domains. Now, the domains are mapped to different business processes like planning, building, and monitoring, right? So just from this, you should know that COBIT, a lot goes into being able to go through COBIT, and the COBIT framework also helps us really to it serves as a guide, especially the 2019, serves as a model, more of for us to just, do what we need to do to be able to meet our governance obligations, right, without necessarily just boxing us in, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Now, when it comes to goals, it defines the connection between needs and business goals as well. And then for components or enablers that we looked at, they are also more generic, like they are looking at skills, infrastructure, processes, description, structures, and others like that. And then design factor, the design factor also focuses on strategic, tactical factors. Also, it should be in context, right, to what the organization needs. And then the design factor also looks at other driving forces or other frameworks that we can use, like ITEL, thereabout, and then also for technologies like cloud data and others, we like all those are considered under the design factor aspect of COBIT 2019. Now, what are some of the benefits? I think for the benefits, where we started from, it's kind of very easy to really come up with some of these benefits of this framework to a company, right? So if implemented right, it can help, or it is supposed to help the organization bridge the gap between your IT governance and your information technology governance, right? Now, it serves us, or it provides a realistic approach for us to pull this off. And in the US, COBIT is used most often when organizations want to stay in compliance with the SOX or Sarbanes-Oxley Act. This is what they use. COBIT is what they use for most of them. Like most companies will use COBIT to be able to pull this off. So we're still looking at some of the benefits. We are going to look at itemized benefits. So improving and maintaining high quality information to support business decisions. Now, you use IT, it helps us to use IT effectively to achieve organizational goals. Like I said, it helps us to also see in real time return on investment for IT, items that we invest in within the organization. Right? And then it helps us to use technology to promote operational excellence. It ensures IT risk is managed effectively. It ensures organizations realize the value of their investments in IT and to help them invest more, which is good for everybody in the security space. And then it also helps us to achieve compliance with law, regulations, and contractual obligations or agreements that we might have as an organization. Right. Now, we are going to look at what certifications are there within this space, like COBIT certifications that are out there. Now, ISACA, they do a really good job. They have a couple of certifications for COBIT that you can do, and they also have training for COBIT. So the certifications, they range from, I think they have COBIT Foundation, COBIT Design and Implementation, and COBIT 5 certifications, right? All on the website of ISACA, you can, get these certifications on there. And then for the framework itself, for COBIT as a framework, it is not free, similar to ISO. So you cannot just have it, just like you can easily download PCI from PCI's website, or NIST framework, any of the frameworks from the NIST website. For this, you have to buy, right? And they've broken it down into the 5. So you have to buy each of the 5 principles. It's not just one big document, so it is not free. You have to buy from ISACA's website, right? And with this, I think for COBIT, we've done a good justice to COBIT. So for anybody who is new to the Eretmis family, kindly, if you want to join our WhatsApp group, I think we are about 900 now. We will post the link in the chat. And for our YouTube channel, our goal is to hit 1 million subscribers by October. So kindly help us to reach our goal by subscribing. Everything that we do for Cyber Chat, we post on our YouTube channel as well. So you can get everything that we are doing here on there. And the previous ones are all posted on there. We have almost 152 videos on there. So kindly check it out. And for anybody who is looking to get into the cybersecurity space, our cybersecurity entry-level course is the way to go. It comes with training, 2 months training, 2 months internship, and then job placement assistance, where we help you get a job as well. And then for PCI, our new PCI class is not going to be on the 4th. It has started already. Our new PCI class for folks already in the IT space. If you want to specialize, or already in the cybersecurity space, you want to specialize in the most lucrative niche within the cybersecurity space, then jump into our PCI training and you wouldn't regret it. And then for folks with certifications, with training elsewhere, you probably did RMF somewhere and you are not really sure of yourself, whether you can do the job or not, get onto our cybersecurity workshop internship, where you get to work on real world cybersecurity projects. And we are going to make sure that you are well polished and all rounded as a security professional before you jump into the industry. So with that, we are going to open it up for questions. Go ahead, Tunde.
Yes, thank you very much for this explanation. My question is very basic. I want you to explain to me, if you have time, why you think the PCI DSS is still the most profitable niche.
Okay, so for all the frameworks within the cybersecurity space, right? COBIT being one, RMF, HIPAA, and the rest. One, PCI is international. Not all of them are, right? Now, aside PCI, so we might argue, okay, ISO is also international. Maybe SOC 2 is also international. But aside all the ones that cut across countries and boundaries, which ones are mandated by industry? COBIT is not mandated by anybody. You can choose to follow or not. ISO, not mandated. You can choose to follow or not. PCI, you cannot choose not to follow or to follow, right? So that is one in terms of demand and in terms of who has to use it. Now, whom does it apply to? Everybody in terms of companies who accept credit card, debit card, they have to stay in compliance with PCI. Now, as a niche within the cybersecurity space, if you take 10 cybersecurity professionals and you ask them about PCI, probably maybe 2 or 3 have heard about it and they think they know is about credit card and debit card. Don't really know that much, right? The rest probably don't know what it is. So as a niche, still a bit on the quiet side. And for information about PCI and PCI implementation within your organization and stuff, it is still online. You can barely find all the information as opposed to NIST and the rest out there, right? And then in terms of also implementation, being a PCI implementer within an organization is not just you knowing the 6 goals and the 12 requirements. It takes more, right? So the demand and who has to use it and the reason behind why companies will pay more for a PCI professional as opposed to a normal cybersecurity professional is the pain that they'll go through if they are not in compliance with PCI, right? There are companies that we do audits for. If they don't meet they don't pass their audits or their audit period passes and their audit is still not completed, they get fined. And the fine ranges from $10,000 to $200,000 per month, right? So that makes it, that is what makes it the most lucrative part of cybersecurity. So unlike all other frameworks, if you are not in compliance with ISO, nobody is going to charge you or fine you anything. You even choose to follow or not, right? For RMF and the rest is good. For the government side, but outside the government side, nobody really follows any of the NIST. They follow it if they want to, right? And there's no penalties or no, like they don't get penalized if you're not a government agency and you don't follow. So that is what makes it the most lucrative because it is still not as known as all other frameworks, but also companies, they have to, and if they don't, they incur more cost, right? So hopefully that helps, Tunde. Bole, please go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to piggyback on the question Tunde asked, and that is, okay, so if you consider the fact that payments processing or payment card industry, it's kind of, or we anticipate that in the next few years with all the Google Pay and Apple Pay, you may not have to use a credit card. So what do you think will be the relevance of this framework?
Okay.
When
So,
that is,
okay, great question. So Google Pay, Apple Pay, they are not card brands, right? For you to set up Google Pay, you have to use your credit card or your debit card. Apple Pay, you have to use your credit card or debit card information. Is that clear to everybody? So payment cards are not going anywhere. Two, it is not about just the card. You can choose not to use the card, just put all your card information on your phone and just use your phone the whole time. But who owns these cards? The card brands: Visa, Master, American Express, Discover, JCB. Those folks are not going anywhere, and they are the ones who control the world when it comes to card transactions, right? So nothing is going to replace it because they have it down to the T. They are the only. So you remember back in the day when you open an account with your bank, they'll give you an ATM card. You could use only you could use the ATM card only at the bank. You couldn't use it at any other bank. Now, why are we able to use it at other banks now? Because it has that tag on there. It has either Visa or Master, right? And why is it possible for you to go from West Fargo and you have a West Fargo card, but you can take money from any other ATM because it has Visa or Master on there? And that money that you take in is not directly from West Fargo. It's Visa and Master who are behind the scenes making that transfer and allowing you to be able to take money anywhere in the world. So cards are not going anywhere. Don't get, carried away by Apple Pay and everything. And they even had like Bitcoin, cards or like cryptocurrency. None of that is going to change anywhere, anything. Without these folks, Visa, Master, American Express, Discover, and DEMS, nobody can do transactions. Your transactions will just be limited to your bank, you and your bank. So if you are in the middle of nowhere and your bank is not there, then you have money, but you don't have money. But now Visa and DEMS, they've made it simple and easy because they have a huge network that is being operated by them. So it's just monopoly, just by them. And they are the ones who control everything in terms of money in the world. So, and they are the ones who came up with PCI DSS, right? Through PCI SSC, which is their company. So it is not going anywhere. I can assure you that. All right. Any questions from the group for COBIT, and then also any general questions on the cyber news that we saw, and then also just on IT governance, information security governance in general? Before we wrap up, we are going to kindly wait. Okay, go ahead, Tenny.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much for this. I wanted to ask, how can I join the internship?
Oh, okay. So the link will be posted in the chat. But if you go to Eretmis Academy, you should be able to see the internship / workshop on there. So you should be able to join. For all our training, you just do the registration and everything online, and you'll be in. Kindly go ahead, Julius.
Yes, doctor, thank you. So my question is, are there, since we are doing job search now, my question is, are there jobs that are specific that require only COBIT?
So there are some, yes. there are some jobs, but mostly for like what I encourage everybody is this. So yes, there are some jobs out there that are looking specifically for somebody to manage their COBIT, like governance aspect of the organization. But then there are some jobs that will have that as part of some of the things that you are going to do. Most of the GRC jobs, they will have, okay, you should know about COBIT, maybe PCI, HIPAA, and the rest, right? Those are not typical COBIT jobs.
Okay.
Right. And those jobs don't require you to be an expert in COBIT or an expert in PCI or an expert in. You just have to know your way around those, right? But for jobs that are specifically PCI or HIPAA or COBIT, they expect you to be a subject matter expert in those frameworks.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, you're welcome. Go ahead, Mr. Odro.
Prof, I wanted to ask a question. Are you going to have another session or a class on how to make your way in the platform of COBIT? Or let's say if you want information on in this special publication 853 revision 4, you will be able to read what it says. But because as you are saying that COBIT is not free, how do you access that platform if you want to read information on that?
Oh, you have to buy it. If you go to their website, you have to buy the document. Hopefully that is clear. Like you have to buy the document. So like I was saying, unlike NIST, you go there, you can download NIST 800-53. Here for COBIT, you have to buy the document. So you go there for all the principles that we looked at, you have to buy each single one of them.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so after Kwame, there's Kuidi. If I messed your name up, please tell me the right pronunciation. Please go ahead. Okay, or Jackie can go.
Okay, good day, Prof. I just want to ask, between HITrust and HIPAA, which one is mostly more globally dominant and recognized by different companies for a professional to possess? Because I've seen some companies that are outside America requiring a professional to have HIPAA instead of HITrust, because I would believe HIPAA is mostly for USA, not really international. Thank you.
Yes, so like this for HIPAA, it's supposed to be for the United States, right? But within the security space, you can borrow any framework, then you can use any framework. So if somebody else is maybe in maybe Europe and they still want to use that, that is a set of best practices that they can use. So they can choose to use that. But if they don't use it, there is no punitive action against them. But in the US, if you don't use it, it is law. You can go to jail for it. So there are some, but not if you take 100 companies within the health space outside the US, maybe probably one or two are using it. Right? So if you're outside the US, I wouldn't really put too much effort into mastering HIPAA, unless of course you want to work for a US company, right? But to look for opportunities outside the US with HIPAA is very limited. Derek, please go ahead.
Yeah, Doc, this is Derek here. I have a quick question for you about the COBIT. Is that the same? What is the meaning of ITIL? Is that the same as COBIT?
No, ITIL is another framework.
Okay. So do they use the same framework as COBIT or NEXT or CIS controls?
No, so all the frameworks, they have their own agenda or like their own path that they are using to portray best practices. Right. ITIL in the security space, it is more on the governance area still, but they don't really. So they all kind of borrow from each other, but they have their own path and their own guiding principles, if you want to look at it that way. So it is not like they don't have like the same thing. You're not going to find like almost this like the same thing here, the same thing, like totally different.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, but there are some similarity. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'm back. I'm back now, doctor.
Okay.
This is Quadio. Yes, I was muted. So thank you for giving me the floor. And I just got into the meeting. So and I'm hearing about COBIT. So I don't have any background in IT, no background, zero. And I saw your announcement on Facebook, and I think that I'm very interesting. I want to get myself in. So I want to know if I'm a person without any zero training, zero background. I mean, is it a class good for me? Can I start with this class since I'm interested?
Yeah, so you can start with our cybersecurity entry-level course. What we do on Friday nights,
okay,
like Friday nights are just chats that we have for everybody, for all of us, just to hang out and share ideas and talk about cybersecurity for an hour and a half.
Okay,
so
but
you can join that. So even if you don't have any IT background, you can still join that and listen in, right? There's something, at least you're going to pick something from the conversation.
Yes, sir. Okay, so there is any certain way that we can access this video, since I came like I can say late in this meeting.
Yeah, it's going to be on YouTube.
And then will you share the link with us so then we can watch the video?
Yes, so on YouTube, and then also we post it on all our platforms when the recording is ready.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, doctor.
All right. All right, so next in line is, oh, sorry about that. Please hold on. Don't know, for some reason, our YouTube is being translated into Arabic. That has been changed. Okay. So, Phoebe, please go ahead.
Hello. My question is, looking at all these frameworks, is it necessary to learn a bit about every framework, or you just have to take one framework and then master it and then use it for work? How will you advise that here?
Okay, so obviously you cannot master all frameworks, right? And I mean, master or it is almost impossible, right? And or still, even if you master all of it, at every point in time, you just be using one or two if you are not doing a job specifically for a specific type of framework. So what I would say is, if you have a good working knowledge of one or two, it's fine. You learn as you go. So don't wait till you master all frameworks before you go find a job in the security space or thereabout. Some jobs you are not even going to use any framework, if like based on whatever you are doing. Right? Others you might be using it, and then maybe sometimes they will even push you onto some other areas. Sometimes as far as to help like the finance folks with their audits. So you're also going to learn some finance frameworks, but those ones you learn as you go. Okay? So don't be super overwhelmed by frameworks. Just your focus should be on, having a very good working knowledge and skill to be able to function in any security role, right? And the frameworks, at least if you know one or two or three, then you are in a better position because they all kind of, if you have like the general concept of how to use them, you will be able to use most of them. So that will be my advice.
Thank you.
All right. So, and for everybody who joined us and put in here where they are joining us from. So Abina from Maryland. We have Nicole from Atlanta. We have Derek from New Jersey. Renee from VA. Ajua from NJ. New York. Juba from New York. Ransford from Dallas, Texas. And Roger from Canada. Minnesota. Evans. Kweku from VA. Nikki from PA. We have Alfred from Virginia, Osai from Texas, Efusa from Atlanta, George from California, Mr. Odo from Massachusetts, Mariam from New York. We have Levet from MD, and Philip from AL is, or is it AL or AI that you put in? Alabama? Okay, so hopefully I got that right. Okay. And we have Jackie, Cape Town. Oh, wow, Jackie, Cape Town. What time is it in Cape Town? And the list goes on. Okay, so Sandra from New Jersey, and the list goes on. We appreciate everybody's time. Philadelphia, Dawn, thank you for joining us. Richard, Vegas, Columbus, Felix, Vancouver, Michael from Vancouver joining us. I appreciate everybody's time. So we are wrapping up for tonight. Jeff from Richmond. And I think that, oh, okay, so there's still more. We have some Canada, Julius, Canada, Colorado, Bobby Man, South Africa, Duman, Edmond, New Jersey, Tunde, Mike from Atlanta, and the list goes on. So we appreciate everybody. Lena from Florida and Canada, Julius also as well. I appreciate everybody's time. So we are about to wrap up for tonight. There will be Cyber Chat next week also as well. And so hopefully next week, we are still in the pipeline. There will be some form of discussion. And then also we are trying to bring up maybe every once a month for Cyber Chat. There's going to be like a Cyber Chat quiz. And as everybody joins, we are going to break up and the winning group. So like there's going to be a group and the group will be answering questions as a group. If the group wins, there's going to be a prize for the group, right? We're probably going to break it up into smaller groups. I think for tonight, attendance, we're almost 115, 120. Appreciate everybody's time. We are about to wrap up. So hopefully everybody got something for your toolbox. Oh, okay. So yes, there will be a quiz kind of for like the whole and entire group. So not quiz like a test, but quiz more of how do we put, like not a debate type, but you know that type of quiz where we ask the question, the groups will answer, and then you know like we are going to pick. You know, there is some chat in there from Doc. So all right, everyone, we are wrapping up. I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for joining us. We are wrapping up for tonight. Have a great weekend. Next week, we are going to meet again, God willing, for another edition of Cyber Chat. And during the week, if you have any questions, issues you need help with, the link is in the chat. Please go ahead and reach out. You can make an appointment to talk to Dr. Edu or reach out to any of our folks, and we'll be able to help with anything that you are going to need help with, right? And there's going to be a very interesting topic next week as well. So kindly do well to join us next week. Have a great night, everyone, and a great weekend. We will meet next week. Stay blessed.
Thank you, Dr. Edu. Have a good weekend.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, doctor.